Pick up the fork in front of you right now. Really pick it up. Feel the weight. Feel how it sits in your hand. Now count the tines. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not 3, not 5. 4. And here's the strange part. You've used thousands of forks in your life without ever asking why that number became the global standard. Spoons vary wildly in size. Knives come in dozens of shapes. But forks? Almost always 4. So why exactly 4? It turns out that this simple design choice is not a coincidence. It is the result of centuries of trial, error, cultural resistance, engineering tweaks, and at least one accidental discovery. The fork did not just appear fully formed, it evolved. And the number 4 is the answer to an engineering problem you never knew existed. Before forks became normal, people ate with their hands, knives, and spoons. Medieval Europeans carried personal knives to every meal, slicing food, spearing meat, sometimes bringing it straight to the mouth. Elegant? No. Practical? Yes. Forks existed, but they were rare and had 2 tines. Early versions appeared in the Byzantine Empire around the 11th century. When they spread to Venice and then across Europe, they were controversial. Religious figures called them unnecessary luxury. Some clergy saw them as an insult to God's design for human hands. It sounds dramatic, but table manners were tied directly to morality and class. 2 tines worked fine for spearing solid chunks of meat. But here's the question nobody asks. What happens when food gets smaller? Try eating peas with a 2-pronged fork. Small pieces slip right through the gaps. Soft foods fall apart. It is not efficient. As cuisine became more varied, especially with the rise of pasta in Italy, people needed utensils that could handle more delicate dishes. Twirling spaghetti with 2 tines? Not ideal. Designers experimented. 3-tined forks began appearing in the Renaissance. The extra tine made a noticeable difference. Food was easier to hold. Pasta became manageable. But here is where it gets interesting. 3 still was not perfect. Imagine pressing a fork straight down into food. You are applying downward pressure with your hand. With 3 tines, that force distribution is not perfectly symmetrical. 1 tine sits centered. 2 sit on either side. It works. But it is slightly less stable than a 4-point structure. 4 tines create balanced, symmetrical, structurally sound pressure. 2 on each side. Equal weight distribution. This is not just aesthetic. It affects how the fork glides into food. A 4-tine fork enters more evenly. It holds food more securely. And, most importantly, it creates a shallow scoop between the tines. That scoop is the hidden genius. It helps with semi-solid foods, mashed potatoes, salad, pasta. The fork becomes both a spear and a scoop. That dual function is everything. By the 17th century, 4-tined forks began dominating European table settings. In France and Italy, dining etiquette became more refined, and utensils became specialized. 4 tines hit the sweet spot between function and practicality. More secure grip than 2 or 3, not too wide or bulky, strong enough without bending easily, easy to manufacture, comfortable in your mouth. That last detail matters more than you think. 5 or more tines would make the fork wider. Holding more food sounds good until you try to bring it to your lips. Your mouth has a natural width limit. 4 tines fit that space naturally. An ergonomic detail, a small constraint that shaped design forever. But here is something almost nobody knows, and this is where it gets weirdly genius. Forks almost disappeared entirely. In the 18th century, when the American and French revolutions disrupted European trade, fork manufacturing slowed dramatically. Some regions rejected them as frivolous, yet one group of people kept using them religiously: seafaring merchants and port workers. Why? Because at sea, on a rolling ship, a fork with 4 short, thick tines is the only utensil that does not slip off a plate or drop into the water. Sailors were not thinking about elegance. They were thinking about not starving because their food ended up in the ocean. The four-tine fork survived because sailors made it essential during a century when it could have vanished entirely. Once a tool becomes standard, it shapes everything. Children grow up using four-tine forks. Cutlery trays are molded for it. If someone handed you a five-tine dinner fork tomorrow, you would notice immediately. Your brain would reject it even if it worked perfectly. That is the power of design standardization. The next time you sit down for a meal, pause before your first bite. Look at your fork, four tines. Not because of tradition alone, not because of an accident, but because over hundreds of years, through maritime necessity, engineering tweaks, and human comfort, that number proved to be the most efficient, most balanced, and most practical design for how humans actually eat. Look around your table. Chances are everyone there is holding the exact same solution to a problem they never knew existed. Share this with someone who always wondered why. They probably have.